The email arrived on a Tuesday morning, buried between 17 spam messages about cryptocurrency and a reminder about his dentist appointment. Ryan Reynolds, sitting in his Vancouver hotel room with a cup of lukewarm coffee, almost deleted it without reading. Subject: Guest speaker invitation, University of Toronto Media Studies program. Huh, he muttered, clicking it open. The message was formal, professional, and oddly specific about timing and location. Something about sharing his expertise in contemporary media narratives with undergraduate students. The fee mentioned was laughably small, clearly an academic budget, but the earnest tone made him smile. Ryan had been fielding dozens of speaking requests lately, most from his publicist's carefully curated list. But this one felt different, authentic. Probably some mix-up with his agent's assistant, but the idea of dropping in on unsuspecting college students appealed to his sense of mischief. Why not? He said to his reflection in the bathroom mirror, already imagining the possibilities. 3 days later, Ryan stood outside room 204 of the Media Arts building at U of T, wearing his most approachable professor outfit, khakis, a button-down shirt, and a blazer that screamed, "I have tenure and strong opinions about postmodern cinema." Through the door's small window, he could see about 30 students scattered across tiered seating, most of them staring at their phones. A few were actually reading physical books, which impressed him. At the front of the classroom, a harried-looking woman in her 50s was shuffling papers and checking her watch. Ryan knocked and entered with the confidence of someone who belonged exactly where he was. "Professor Reynolds?" The woman, clearly the department head, looked up with relief. "Oh, thank goodness. I was worried you'd gotten lost. I'm Dr. Martinez. We spoke via email." "Pleasure to meet you," Ryan said, shaking her hand with just the right amount of academic gravitas. "Sorry I'm a few minutes late. Traffic, you know." Of course, of course." "Well, they're all yours." Dr. Martinez gestured to the students, most of whom were now paying attention, though more out of curiosity than enthusiasm. "I'll leave you to it. 1 hour, as discussed." As she left, Ryan surveyed his audience. A sea of flannel shirts, carefully messy hair, and the particular brand of studied cynicism that only liberal arts majors could perfect. This was going to be fun. "All right," Ryan began, perching on the edge of the desk with practiced casualness. "So I'm R. Reynolds, and I'm here to talk about contemporary media narratives." A girl in the front row squinted at him. "Wait, you look exactly like Ryan Reynolds." "Like, exactly." Ryan grinned. "Yeah, I get that a lot. Occupational hazard of looking devastatingly handsome and charismatic." The class laughed, the kind of surprise laugh that happens when someone's much funnier than expected. "Seriously, though," said a guy with thick-rimmed glasses, "the resemblance is uncanny. You could probably make decent money as an impersonator." "I'll keep that in mind as a backup career," Ryan replied. "But today, we're here to talk about storytelling in modern media. So let me ask you this. What makes a story worth telling?" Hands shot up across the room. Ryan pointed to a girl with purple hair. "Authenticity," she said confidently. "Stories that feel real, even when they're not." "Excellent. What else?" "Conflict," offered another student. "Without conflict, there's no story." "Characters you actually care about," added someone from the back. Ryan nodded approvingly. All great answers. "But here's what I think you're missing: the element of surprise. The moment when everything you thought you knew gets turned upside down." He began pacing, warming to his theme. "Take superhero movies, for example. Everyone expects the hero to win, right? So the real challenge isn't whether they'll win, it's how they'll win and what they'll lose in the process." A student raised his hand. "Are you talking about Deadpool specifically? Because those movies totally subvert expectations." Ryan paused, genuinely impressed. "That's a really insightful observation. What specifically did you think worked about that approach?" "The breaking of the fourth wall," the student continued enthusiastically. "It acknowledges that we all know we're watching a movie, so instead of pretending otherwise, it makes that part of the joke." "And the humor," added another student. It's not just random jokes, the comedy comes from the character's personality and situation. Ryan found himself genuinely engaged. These kids were sharp, and their analysis was spot on, better than some professional critics he'd read. "You know what?" he said, sitting on the desk again. "Forget the prepared lecture. Let's just talk. What do you want to know about the media industry?" The questions came fast and curious. How do you break in when you don't have connections? Is it true that most scripts never get read? What's the difference between commercial success and artistic integrity? Ryan answered each one honestly, drawing from years of experience without ever explicitly stating that experience. He talked about rejection, about persistence, about the importance of finding your own voice in an industry that often demanded conformity. "The thing is," he said, addressing a question about dealing with failure, "everyone fails. The actors you see on screen, the directors, the writers, we've all been rejected more times than we can count. The difference between the people who make it and the people who don't isn't talent necessarily. It's the willingness to keep going after the 50th no." A quiet student in the middle row spoke up. "But what if you're not sure if you're any good? What if you keep getting rejected because you actually suck?" The room fell silent. It was clearly a personal question, asked with the vulnerability that only comes from real uncertainty. Ryan considered his answer carefully. "You know what I wish someone had told me when I was your age? That good isn't a fixed thing. What makes someone good at this job changes depending on the project, the director, the audience, even the cultural moment. The actor who's wrong for one role might be perfect for another." He looked directly at the student who'd asked. "The real question isn't whether you're good enough, it's whether you're willing to keep getting better. And whether you can handle being told you're not right for something without taking it as a judgment of your worth as a person." The room was unusually quiet, hanging on every word. "Plus," Ryan added with a theatrical shrug, "if all else fails, you can always fall back on being devastatingly handsome. Works for some people." The laughter broke the tension, but Ryan could see that his serious answer had landed. These students were dealing with real anxieties about their futures, and they deserved more than just jokes. As the hour wound down, a student raised her hand. "Professor Reynolds, this might be weird to ask, but have you ever acted? Like, professionally?" Ryan's eyes twinkled. "What makes you ask?" You talk about it like you've been there, like you really understand how it works from the inside." "Well," Ryan said slowly, "I may have done a little acting here and there. Anything we would have seen?" The room leaned forward expectantly. Ryan glanced at the clock, 5 minutes left. "Tell you what," he said. "How about I show you instead of telling you?" He stood up, straightened his blazer, and suddenly his entire demeanor shifted. Gone was the approachable professor. In his place stood someone with perfect posture, razor-sharp comedic timing, and an unmistakable presence. "My name is Wade Wilson," he began in a voice the student suddenly recognized. "And I'm here to teach you the most important lesson you'll ever learn about media studies. Sometimes the best stories happen when nobody's following a script." The recognition rippled through the classroom like a wave. Phones came out, jaws dropped. Someone actually gasped. "Oh my God," whispered the purple-haired girl. "You're actually Ryan Reynolds." "Surprise," Ryan said, dropping back into his normal voice. "Though I have to say, you guys are a much better audience than most movie theaters." "But wait," said the student with glasses. "If you're really Ryan Reynolds, what are you doing here?" This was supposed to be Professor R. Reynolds from the communications department. Ryan pulled out his phone, showing them the email. Apparently, there was a little mix-up with the invitation. "But you know what? I'm glad it happened. This was way more fun than my usual Tuesday afternoon." "Did you know?" asked someone. "When you walked in, did you know it was a mistake?" "Honestly, I suspected something was off when nobody seemed particularly starstruck. But you all were so engaged, so thoughtful in your questions. I figured I'd just roll with it." A student in the back row raised her hand tentatively. "Can I ask you something? All that stuff you said about rejection and persistence and finding your voice, was that just for the class, or do you really believe it?" Ryan's expression grew serious again. "Every word. The path from where you are now to where you want to be isn't a straight line for anybody. It's messy and unpredictable, and sometimes humiliating. But if you can laugh at the absurdity of it, like ending up in the wrong classroom pretending to be a professor, then you're already ahead of most people. The door opened, and Dr. Martinez peeked in. "How did everything go with Professor Rain?" She stopped mid-sentence, staring at Ryan. "Wait, you're not Professor Reynolds?" "No," Ryan said cheerfully. "I'm the other Reynolds, the one with the questionable life choices and the tight superhero costume. Doctor." Martinez looked like she might faint. "Oh no, oh no, no, no. There's been a terrible mistake. I'm so sorry, Mr. Reynolds. The email system must have... Actually," Ryan interrupted. "This worked out perfectly. Best lecture I've ever given, and I didn't even prepare for it." He turned back to the students, who were still processing the surreal turn their Tuesday had taken. "Here's your final lesson in contemporary media narratives," he said. "Sometimes the best stories are the ones nobody planned. Sometimes a technical glitch or a case of mistaken identity leads to something better than what you originally intended." He headed toward the door, then paused. "Oh, and if any of you ever make it to Hollywood and need someone to play a devastatingly handsome professor, you know where to find me." As he left, the classroom erupted in excited chatter. Phones buzzed with texts and social media posts. But underneath the excitement, Ryan could sense something else, a genuine appreciation for the unexpected lesson they'd all learned together. Later that evening, Ryan's publicist called, having seen the social media buzz. "Ryan, what exactly happened at the University of Toronto today? My phone has been ringing nonstop." Ryan smiled, looking out at the Vancouver skyline. "Let's just say I accidentally taught a masterclass in the power of authentic storytelling." "And how exactly does one accidentally teach a masterclass?" "Same way one accidentally becomes Deadpool, I suppose. Sometimes the best performances happen when nobody's expecting them." The next semester, the University of Toronto's Media Studies program saw a 300% increase in applications. And somewhere in Toronto, 30 students had a story they'd be telling for the rest of their lives about the day their guest lecturer turned out to be exactly who he said he was, just not who they thought he was supposed to be.